insights about their investment theses, how they work with founders, and how they help pitch. So with that being said, we know some people are still trickling in. We've got this recorded for those that aren't able to make it, but we'd love to kind of kick it off and have the judges introduce themselves. And so with that, just very quick intro, myself, Michael Frank, and Tiger Gamel are the managing partners here at Gildre. Any questions throughout the event, use the chat box, message us. We're happy to help. With that being said, Jason, I'd love to kind of hand it to you to start with the first intro.
Great. Thanks, Brian, and rest of the team for having me here. My name is Jason Jacobsohn. I've been active in the entrepreneurial and investment space for over 20 years. I've been on the front lines supporting entrepreneurs, helping them raise capital, connecting them to resources, providing general advisory services. Currently do a few things. I run the Chicago chapter of the Founder Institute, which is the world's largest pre-seed technology accelerator. I've been running that for 13 years in Chicago. I also, a few years ago, launched a early stage venture capital fund, Propellant Ventures. We invest in early stage B2B tech-enabled businesses based in the Midwest region of the US. I'm going to share more details on our thesis in a moment. And then I also teach classes in entrepreneurship at DePaul University in Chicago. So happy to be here.
Awesome. Thank you, Jason. And then Emily, would you like to go next?
Sure. It's great to see you all here. My name is Emily. I've been building businesses for over 15 years. I've built businesses in nonprofit, also wellness, brick and mortar, and past business was in AI technology. So as a non-technical founder with a company based out of London. Right now, I'm really passionate about helping entrepreneurs and infusing wellness as a growth strategy and a lot of different aspects that we override, like our own physiology and psychology, to get the job done. So I am bullish on really bridging that gap where we're seeing so many startups not make it. And I'm helping a lot of early stage startups as well as many ambitious women. So I have two companies. One is called Founder and Flow. The other is called the Feminine Template. The Feminine Template is the newest company that I have right now. I actually just hired on 50 interns, so I'm really excited. It's kind of like creating my own entrepreneurial school while we're creating this company, and it's going to be a wild summer, but I'm looking forward to it.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Emily. Appreciate the perspective. And then Joseph, our third judge, if you'd want to introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Joseph. I'm an angel investor, and I'm currently with 3 angel networks. Sleeton is one of the one. It's my first angel network. I'm also a member of Tekos Angel, TCA Venture Group, and also a member of Camco Angels. I prefer early stage deals, sweet spot $5 to $20 million valuation, industry agnostic. I prefer to do direct investment. Most of my deals are I'm on the cap table. I rarely have a few deals through the SPV. Rarely with some great benefits, tax benefits, but it's rare. Most of the deals are with the direct investment. 40 deals. I'm also investing to LP for 7 VCs.
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing, Joseph. And then just for context, and apologize if it's wrong, Jason's based out of Chicago, Emily is out of Boston, and then Joseph is out of Austin. And so, yep, there you go. So we're excited to kick everything off. So little agenda. Jason's going to give us a brief, 12 to 15 minute kind of window on some best practices on pitching, a little bit about his investment thesis, and then we'll kind of roll right into the pitches. So with that, Jason, if you want to share your screen, we'll kick that off. And then everyone else, if you have questions throughout the presentation, we also say feel free to introduce yourselves in the Google Meet chat, share your LinkedIn, where you're from as well. And then also, as you have questions, you can ask them again throughout the pitches, throughout the presentations. And we'll also have time set at the end for about 10 minutes of Q&A, with the panelists, with the presentations, and the founders as well. So, all right, Jason, you have the floor.
Can you guys see the screen okay?
Perfect.
Can you see it, Brian?
Yep, you're good.
Okay. All right. Awesome. All right. Well, as I mentioned, I've been in the entrepreneurial ecosystem for over 20 years. I'll just briefly touch on my background a little bit more, but go into our thesis and then tell you about some of the things that I look for in pitches and just some general feedback. That's some entrepreneurs, you may know this, but I'm just rehashing some of it and maybe throw some new things in there. So, as I mentioned, I've been active for over 20 years. Currently, Propellant Ventures has 12 investments. As I said, we invest in B2B tech based in the Midwest. I was also part of another fund before that, Alumni Ventures. I was specifically part of the Bascom Ventures team, which is an investor in companies led by University Alumni Wisconsin. We had 27 investments that I was a part of, 6 exits so far. Also, as I said, I run the Founder Institute chapter in Chicago. I've been doing that 13 years. We have 148 portfolio companies in the Chicago area. And then I started my career at a company called V Capital that was a matchmaker between entrepreneurs and investors. This was in the early 2000s, so it was one of the first companies like that at the time, but reviewed hundreds of deals for that. And also I've done some general advisory work. I was part of the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program when it came to Chicago, and then part of the Chicagoland Entrepreneurial Center, which is one of the early places in our ecosystem to support entrepreneurs. So I've been in and around. I've done a lot of different things. I've done other things in this, but a lot of it's around pitching and guiding founders. So I've got a pretty good perspective on that, both from the entrepreneur side and the investor side. So just real briefly tell you about our fund and why we launched. So we see a significant opportunity in the Midwest. We have some of the highest returns in the country on investor returns, and not only the region, but also the Chicago is the highest return. So you see these returns here. Now our deal flow and deal investments is not as high as, say, the Valley or the Northeast, but when you look at the returns, we have some of the highest returns out of we do have the highest returns on any region in the country. So there's significant opportunity here in the region. I won't go into those details of why, but I can share that later if anyone has any questions. But we do have some advantages here in the Midwest. So we have top universities, we have top talent. We have the most computer science degrees in the region out of any part of the U.S. One of the lower cost of livings, half of what you see in Palo Alto, lower salary expense. We have Midwest work ethic. People build companies here around revenue models, build for profitability, and investors come in at earlier valuations. But again, we have a lot of great strengths here in our region, and that's a big part of why we launched here in the Midwest. But we also have a funding gap in the Midwest. We don't have as much professional capital investing at the earlier stages. So our sweet spot is pre-seed and early seed. That's where that funding gap is. And so we come in generally after angel investors, but before a larger seed round where it's primarily all VCs. And we like to invest in companies at 10 million or below pre-money valuation or valuation cap. We also focus on B2B. B2B is more predictable, higher revenue potential. Our region has a lot of old line industries that are disrupted by technology. So in the B2B space, so that's why we're focused on that. So anyone has any questions, I can share more, but I really wanted to focus mostly on some of the things they look for in pitches. So as I said, I've spent a lot of time giving feedback on pitches through Founder Institute and through a lot of other efforts that I've been a part of. So I'm going to give you some things to think about, and these are really relate to the slides you should have. So I'm guessing most of you have these slides, but I'm just going to share perspective, and those that are investors probably already know this, but going to reinforce some of the stuff. So first thing is you've got to clearly articulate your problem. Ideally, you start with one main problem. You want to be very simple and focused. If you talk about multiple problems, it may show you're a little bit unfocused. And so especially at the early stage, you could solve another problem later, but at the earliest stage, be very focused. And that problem should be focused on the customer. So we should understand who your customer is, what their pain point is. And if you can quantify that pain point around how maybe there's inefficiency in the market, maybe there's dollars lost, but quantify that wherever you can, that really shows us you understand the problem, and it shows that there really is an opportunity here that you're trying to solve. So that's one of the first things. Start out with the problem. Then you want to tell us about your solution. So again, keep this very simple. Keep it non-technical as much as possible, and also tell us why now. Why is the right time to offer this solution? So again, don't try to do too much. Don't try to launch too much at once. Just very simplified. You don't try to do too many iterations at once or too many products. Ideally, you have one solution. It's very simple to understand. There's something called the mom test that some of you probably have heard about, but your mother or your grandmother, maybe a fifth grader, someone should be able to understand what your solution is as long as you are keeping it very simple. So technical founders generally tend to have technical descriptions that can lose people. And just think about a general audience. If you're talking to someone technical and you know that, different story, but when you're doing a pitch in front of multiple people you don't know, keep it very simple. Your product. So you also want to show us how it works, whether you've launched it or you haven't. Show us a screenshot, show us a picture of it, show us something about how this works. Yeah, super important so we understand. So maybe you do screenshot, if it's software, do screenshots of how that works. If it's a physical product, show us a picture of that, but show us how it works. And again, try to avoid technical terms, right? Acronyms, buzzwords, all those things. Try to avoid jargon, keep it simple. So you can generally have a couple slides, one on solution, what you're doing, how, why now, and then the next one, how it works. Next is your business model or revenue model. Keep it simple as well. Ideally, start with one revenue stream. I realize some businesses may have a couple different streams at launch, but keep it simple. Ideally, it's just one. Be very direct about it and add dollar amounts. Tell us how you make money. Maybe you're making money off a percent, whatever it is, give us numbers of how you make money. And if you're trying to do too much at once, it's going to show you're not focused. And that's the problem, that you don't want investors to think that maybe you have different stages of revenue, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, fine, lay it out that way in your deck, but be very clear about that. Also, you want to talk about your traction or market validation. Traction is something we always hear about. Entrepreneurs always hear about. What have you done for it? What have you done, right? What can you get excited about? If you're already in business, give us some historical performance. Maybe you have metrics, you have revenue, you've got users, you've got beta customers, whatever it is, show it to us. Tell us you've hit some milestones. And so whatever those milestones are, maybe you hit that as well. But the fact is, whatever, how much, even if you have $100 or $1,000 of revenue, you've got revenue. That's more than most companies. Tell us your revenue. You have partnerships, maybe, whatever it is, some key milestones. Maybe you have a patent, maybe you've developed your beta, whatever it is, tell us your milestones. Next is competition. This is where some entrepreneurs can show they don't understand the market. There's always competition. Even if you're the only one doing what you're doing, there's always competition. The status quo is competition. So if you tell an investor there's no competition, it shows you don't understand the market. There could be pieces of what you're doing that there's competition about on, whatever it is. Talk about some direct, some indirect competitors, and tell us your competitive differentiators. That's really where you can shine and tell us what's unique and different about what you're doing. You can do that at a table where you lay out features and check the boxes, and you can do it that way. Some people do it in quadrants where they show, usually you're the top right. The tables generally are better because we can see actually what you're different about. And I would only do 3 to 5 of those. You don't want a huge table here. You don't want to have too much information. Next is your market size. Wherever possible, tell us, you probably heard TAM, SAM, SOM. Tell us the size of the market, the overall market, and really what segment you're going after and how large that market is. It's all about the assumptions here. So there's a bottom-up versus top-down approach. So whatever, and I won't go into those details, but whatever method you use, give us the assumptions. Super important, because if you don't have it crystallized, it also can show us that you don't understand your customer segment. And it can move. All these things are iterative. You're never set in stone, but you want to have something you can share with people right away that this is what we're focused on. Also, go to market. This is how you're going to make money. What are your marketing and sales strategies? So some people put one or the other, but really put both. Even if you're digital marketing and you're driving people to your site, whatever it is, are you forming partnerships? Are there other ways you're selling? So really tell us how you're going to do that and mention some key partnerships. Super important. It's a very important slide so we understand how you're going to actually generate revenue. Your team is super important at this stage. That's probably the most important at this stage. So who is your core team? Why are they relevant in terms of experience? Whether you built companies, you have industry experience, but what is important about this team that sets you apart? And it's okay if you're not a full-time, and it's okay if you don't have direct experience, but who else on the team does? If the founder doesn't have that direct experience, who else can you bring, right? So it shows that you are able to bring leaders, or as a leader, you're able to bring good people around you. So fill out your team with advisors, even if there's part-time people now, that's fine, that's normal, but fill that out with people with relevant experience. And lastly, the ask. Obviously, the ask, there's different asks, right? So if you're raising capital, obviously it's going to be how much you're raising, what's the use of those funds, and what milestones you're going to achieve with those. So the use of funds, it should be core functions like sales and marketing, product development, operations. I see too many pitch decks where founders put salaries as a category. We know you're paying people, but give us the core functions of what the result or what the capital is going to be used for. Most of it will be for hiring people, fine, but just put the core function. Don't put founder salaries. I've seen that in there before. Investors know you're going to pay yourself a little something, but don't call it out like that, because investors expect you to have a couple years of capital saved up to be able to run this business. Not that it has to happen that way, but don't call out that way. And then tell us the milestones you're going to achieve with that capital. So maybe revenue, maybe customers, maybe geographic expansion, whatever it is, let us know that. And if you're not raising capital, that's fine, have another ask. So as you know, I run Founder Institute in Chicago. We don't want our founders to put their capital ask in there. Some do. So what other asks do you have? You need advisors, you're looking for a co-founder, technical resources, put that in there. If you're raising money from a public pitch event, you've got to be careful on not, having a capital need in there. So, you got to be careful with SEC guidelines that you don't have capital mentioned in there if you don't know who's going to be in the meeting. So just keep that in mind. Always have another ask because you don't know who's going to be in the room. And then lastly, I just want to give a few other pointers here. And so this is a story. Your whole pitch is a story. Tell a story, get us excited. And you want to start out with your why. Why are you starting this business? Did you feel the pain of this? Did someone feel the pain of this? But grab it, get us excited early on. And then that can feed into the rest of, the problem and the solution, et cetera. Keep it simple. You don't need a lot of slides. You don't need a lot of information on slides, right? Have more pictures, less text. Again, the slides are a compliment to you. So keep it very simple. And if you have too much text, people are going to try to read and listen to you at the same time. So keep it very simple. Avoid superlatives like first, huge, only, best. You don't want to say first mover advantage. We're the only one doing this. We're the best. I can tell you're not the only, you're not the best doing this. You may be in that conversation, but the fact is you don't need to, you're overselling yourself. That shows a little bit of an ego, and you should be confident, but you don't need to tell us those things. It's not necessary. Instead, show us why that is the case. Eliminate buzzwords, acronyms, industry jargon. This, again, a lot of technical founders tend to do this, but avoid anything that is, going to confuse people. I know a lot of people use AI, use ML. I would avoid that stuff. I know AI is popular now and people understand that, but I would still instead talk about your business model and, that's underlying technology. So just keep in mind that, keep it very simple. Remember the mom test. Does your mom know what AI is? Probably not. So just keep it very simple and eliminate those buzzwords. And be confident. That's what I said earlier. You can, an ego is one thing, being confident is another. You want to be confident and passionate, and just know you're going to get better. The more you present, the more feedback you get, the better you're going to get. So it's going to change. It's going to iterate, and you're going to get better over time. So that is all I have. So thank you. I'm going to turn it back over to the group here so we can hear the pitches.
Perfect.
All
right. Thank you, Jason. And again, hopefully that was, either a refresher for some people, hopefully some first-time tips and things like that. So again, this is all recorded, so we'll be able to access it after. But with that being said, we're going to jump into our first pitch. So Carla Garcia, you have the floor if you want to share your screen. So again, everyone, the format will be, it's a 5-minute timed pitch. And then afterwards, each judge will give a rating between 1 to 5, 5 being the highest score, 1 being the lower score. And along with some feedback afterwards on, how to improve, things they liked, things they should continue on. And that way we'll be able to continue to kind of provide some feedback for everyone. And then again, as a founder or as someone in the room, feel free to ask questions and provide commentary throughout the deck as well. So Carla, do you want to share your screen?
Thank you, Brian, and thank you, Jason, for all that information. Let me go ahead and share my screen.
Perfect. And then I know you're probably going to be looking at it, but I'll message you and give you kind of the 1 minute heads up once you get down to there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm going to put a timer, actually. Well, thank you for everybody for being here, for having me here. I'm Carla. I'm the founder and CEO of MyPlanKeeper. And we are a conversational AI platform for retirement wellness, artificial intelligence, I must say, a white label B2B and consumer platform, tapping into a market. And planning for retirement has always been tough, and that's a reality. I don't know how many of you have actually seen somebody walk through retirement and be hit with reality that is just so much more about numbers. And we are here to change that. We are here to provide true partnerships for retirement and be able to capture nuances and provide 24/7 guidance. Here, you're going to meet Peter. And Peter has joy right now. Peter sees real-time guidance. He has questions 24/7 and has a guide to answer his questions. So he feels in control. He feels that his advisor knows him better. But reality is that Peter's story, it didn't start there. The retirement planning dilemma, it's according to CNBC, there's 56% of Americans that are not on track to comfortably retire. There's a lot of anxiety around retirement, and reality is that it's just not about the money. The money is what drives the crisis. The money is, even if you have money, there's a lot more to the retirement anxiety. I spent 20 years helping clients plan for retirement. And during those 20 years, I saw even people like Peter who had enough money accumulated to really be hit with the reality that there's the health concern. There is when would I retire? How am I going to know that I'm going to have enough, even if you had enough? And so besides the retirement planning dilemma, there's a big disconnect as well. People are too attached to their advisors, to their employers who are providing benefits, but 60% of clients are resetting their GPS. Their GPS is their advisors. I don't know how many of you have gone through employers, have gone through a banker that left or an advisor. And every time you have to actually go and meet another advisor, you have to start all over again. And it's about to get worse. As we know, people retire, and there's a third of advisors in the entire US who are retiring in the next 10 years. That's about 100,000 advisors. And that's $2.3 trillion it's actually going to be of clients that are going to have to reset. So now we're building Grace, our empathetic conversational AI. And Grace is there to listen. Grace is there to help not just tackle little questions and nuances about retirement planning, but be able to use emotion recognition to help users tackle that extra other 80%, because the financial is just 20%. So we have emotion recognition to really just have an avatar that is not just listening as your partner, but also taking notes and getting to understand our users better than anybody else in the industry. And our first solution, it is Grace. And our MVP, we're pre-revenue, and it's going to be ready in about 3 to 4 weeks. And why now? Well, the financial wellness market, it's about to go up to $7.2 billion by 2032. So it is a big market. We're looking to tap into the US market. And conversational AI, it's a market that is also growing to be $86 billion. Now, we have companies like Morgan Stanley, Morningstar, who are implementing artificial intelligence to help with productivity, to help with solutions for advisors to better serve their clients. There is a big opportunity. I call it a market convergence. So we are tapping into financial wellness, but we are very niche down to retirement wellness. We're focusing on very unique needs of both pre-retiree and post-retirees, and working on both on the emotional and the financial part of the transition. Now, by concentrating on that market, we're actually serving a part of the market that is underserved. We are looking to start with the U.S. market. It's what we're targeting, our first target. Our competitors, we have a lot of competitors. Financial wellness is a large market. And when we look at our competitors, we are going into this as partnerships. I'm passionate about the wellness part of it. I'm passionate about being able to not bring a financial product to the market. There's tons of financial products. There's tons of financial wellness solutions for corporations. But if you remember when it's about 5 minutes. Oh my goodness. But we're tackling our competitive advantage. It's bringing that disconnection, that autonomy to our users. That's our biggest competitive advantage. It's being able to provide that autonomy for corporations to not be part of their financial benefit. So just our go-to-market, it's specific to make sure that we stay competitive. We're asking for $750,000 on SafeNote, and our team. Obviously, I couldn't do this alone. We've been focusing on building a team. I've been in the industry for 20 years. I know the pains and the concerns of our customers, and I have a great team of advisors that are built. My developers, I'm using Core AI and Burn as well, which they do this technology for large corporations like Morgan Stanley, and I'm leveraging them. And Burn AI, which has the best emotion recognition in the industry. And I went over our business model. We're a membership-based model, and we have both for white label, for advisors as well, and for family offices. And I went over, I'm so sorry. I went over,
That's all right. Great job. Nice job, Carla. Thanks for kicking us off and sharing. And so, yeah, we want to give. So Jason, you can start us off. We'll kind of rotate with judges. Each judge, if you want to give kind of just 30 seconds, a minute of feedback, and then your score.
Okay, I'll start with the feedback. All right, so overall, good job. You hit all the components. I think couple things. Start out with that story. Tell us your why. Why is this important to you? Are you one of the target audiences, maybe of a family member that went through this and is in transition? But start with the story, your market. And so I'm just going to jump around. So your market slide, you have a good explanation, but don't try to be more specific. You just said we're going to capture these percents of the TAM, the percent of the SAM, for your SOM. Investors don't like to see that. You could throw any number out there, 5%, 20%. Those are high numbers. Tell us what within that market, who are you capturing? What are the details? Now, maybe in your forecast, you use percent. You've got to show the assumptions so you understand the details. Just throwing a percent out there is not really good enough. That doesn't show us you understand as much as you probably do. In your ask slide, don't put the structure, safe, or valuation. Let that come up in the conversation later. Just say we're raising this. This is our use of funds. These are our milestones. But you don't want to put anything there that may cause someone to not want to talk to you. Maybe this investor doesn't want to do safes. You're already eliminating that person then by having. You want to get to that next conversation. Also, your business model slide should be before that. So really the last couple slides, in my opinion, should be your team and then your ask, and you're done after that. You had your bit, because once the ask is out there, people aren't going to focus on anything else. So your business model should be before that for sure. And I wouldn't do a projection in there either. Let that come out in another conversation. Again, if someone doesn't like your projections, they're not going to have another conversation with you. Don't put something in that's going to cause potential concern. Leave things for the next conversation. So overall, I think you did a good job. You had all the information. You could clarify a little bit, but I'll give you a 4. So thank you.
Thank you, Jason. All right, Emily, do you want to go next?
Hey, Carla. So I agree with what a lot of Jason said. I would, in terms of just like keeping the audience or investor engaged when you're pitching, I would say less is more. And like Jason said, there's a lot of things that you can leave to a next conversation. Sometimes we're just trying to fit everything in. And just keeping your energy consistent throughout the pitch is really crucial. And I think if you focus on less is more, you'll be able to hold that for yourself. So there's less going on in your mind and you're just focusing on those main points you're trying to get at. So I would also give you a 4. I think it was a great start and I'm looking forward to seeing how it refines.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Emily. And then Joseph, bring us home.
Yeah, I think you can redefine your problem and you jump to the actual problem when you spend 2 minutes talking about something you're not doing. So for example, you haven't talked about 401k. You have very specific target problem you are solving, but you spend the time building this, which you are not solving. I think it's not relevant. And in your business case, your competitors, the biggest competitors, they come from various angles. So there are existing Fidelity. They have their own AI tool. So how do you fit in? And you spend time working on a problem is too big, like you are solving global warming. And it's not a problem you're going to solve at all. So focus on what you're actually solving and redefine who are your immediate competitors, partners, so investor can see everything clearly. And for this, because this is the first time we have a conversation, most of the time you probably send a pitch deck or one page summary to the investor. Make sure you have the ask, but open the ask beforehand. Like Jason mentioned, don't say safe. Most of my connections were angels. When we see a safe, we pass, right? So if you don't have a leading investor, just leave it open.
Great. And then score, Jason or Joseph? 1 to 5. Or Joseph, yeah, do you have a score for Carla?
Let me start. I would say maybe 2, high 2, not 3, because I haven't heard the actual information, how to compete with Fidelity. And your target market, the audience, your STB is not correct. You are not targeting every retirees. You have specific users you're targeting after, who have IRA Roth or who have 401k or who is wealthy or who is not wealthy. So your actual market, the user base is not clear to me. And how you solve this problem and getting this market is not clear to me.
Okay, great. Thank you for the feedback, Joseph. And again, great job, Carla. Thank you for the feedback.
Thank you for the great feedback.
Of course. All right. We have Emporia. Are you good to go next?
Yes. Can everyone hear me?
We can. Yep. Let us
Okay.
know when you share your screen and we'll go from there.
Share screen. Let's see. Can everyone see?
Yep.
Yep.
Let me just make it full screen. Okay, so hi, my name is Emporia. So a little backstory about why I'm doing what I'm doing now. When I was a little kid, I would constantly get incredibly vivid nightmares to the point where when I woke up, I would be uncertain to differentiate whether it was a memory and something that actually happened or just a nightmare. It got to a point where my parents had to send me to sleep therapists and I had to see doctors, and I would stay up for days just not letting myself sleep because I would be so scared of the nightmares that I would get. So fast forward to last summer, I met my co-founder who has a very similar story to mine, and that's why we started EMPI DREAM. So what is lucid dreaming? For people who don't know what this is, it's when you're aware that you're dreaming and can control what happens in your dream. It's a skill that anyone can learn, and it's backed by scientific research. It can be used for fun, but it can also be used for therapeutic purposes. Some people use it to enhance creativity or solve problems. Excuse me. Some examples of some famous people you may have heard of would include Nikola Tesla. He visualizes inventions within his dreams. The Wachowski siblings used dreams to kind of create a lot of their very famous films, such as The Matrix. And Albert Einstein used a form of daydreaming and dreaming to visualize complex physical phenomena, such as riding alongside a beam of light, which contributed to his theory of relativity. So each of these famous individuals have used dreams and lucid dreaming specifically to do what they did. So our mission is to educate the public on various psychological and practical benefits of lucid dreaming. And our vision is for lucid dreaming to become as mainstream as meditation has become over the last 10 years. The problem is that most people, approximately 1 in every 2 people, have experienced lucid dreaming in their lives, sometimes accidentally, but only 23% of it do it monthly. This shows the gap that although people have heard of it or they have done it, they don't really know the benefits of it. What we are aiming to do is to provide an all-encompassing platform that offers science-backed tools to teach people how to lucid dream in a very fun way. So we are a participant of the CSI Tech Incubator, which is based in Staten Island in New York. We're part of the Spring 2024 cohort. We're also a member of the Association for the Scientific Study of Consciousness and the IASD, which are 2 of the longest standing lucid dreaming and dreaming organizations in the world. And on the right, we have some screenshots of what the app currently looks like. We are still in beta, but these are the latest screenshots that we do have. So the team, obviously I am a co-founder. My other co-founder, his name is Keith. He has a background being in the startup space for over 10 years now. And as I said, when we met last summer, we really connected over lucid dreaming. Our third main member is our in-house PhD dream scientist and advisory board member. He is one of the leading lucid dreaming scientists in the world. He's written 2 books and published over 100 papers. We also have 2 advisors. One focuses on psychology and is a psychiatrist in New York, and the other one focuses on hardware in case we do want to go down that route in the future. What our app does, we will have expert-led courses, and this will be launched around late July to early August. We have a dream engine where people can have a dream journal that utilizes AI to give you interpretations and images. We have a dream lab with meditations and different tools you can use. We're also going to be launching a community aspect, an affiliate marketplace, and also one-on-one consultations similar to BetterHelp. So our market size, lucid dreaming is a very new space, and because it's so new, there isn't really a direct, an exact number I can give, but these are some estimates. Because dreaming is under the sleep category right now, it is projected to reach $585 billion by 2025. So here are some trend analytics just to show the increasing interest in lucid dreaming. So over the past 5 years, there has been a 1,600% increase in lucid dreaming as a search term in Google, as well as YouTube, people being more curious over time about lucid dream stories and what a lucid dream is. Social analysis on the right are just some things that we've experimented with organic social media to see how people react to it. But also, I can't see the chat box, so if I'm up on time, feel free to just tell me here.
That's right.
Okay, so social analysis, this just shows kind of like an overview capture of how people are interested in lucid dreaming and dreams. Our projections, so currently we have 1,500 early adopters. Based on a month to month average, we are expected to hit 71,000 total users by the end of 2024. Our current average stickiness, which would be wow over MAU, is 32%, and we are expected to hit $77,000 in revenue at the end of 2024. Our current CAC is 55 cents. Our business model, so we do have right now we are just B2C, but we do have some B2B pipelines in the works where we do want to have offline distribution with therapists and also be able to implement an affiliate marketplace similar to Rakuten, where we can have featured brands and products that are related to what we are aiming to do. So our strategic investment opportunity, we closed our last round pre-MVP this past December at a $3 million valuation. One of our investors is actually on this call right now, spying on me. And our next round, we're targeting for a $5 million valuation, but we do want to hold off on giving an actual number for that until we're at least 3 months into monetizing, which should start very soon. And yeah, we are the first all-in-one lucid dreaming platform. I know you said not to say first, but we really are the first because we do have competitors, but they're fragmented. They either have just the Dream Journal or there's like Mind Valley, which has just the courses. We are actually the first to have everything in one place. And that is my presentation.
All right. Great job, Emporia. Thanks for sharing about that and enlightening us, because that's something definitely I've heard of, but not really dug into. So we'll switch the order up a little bit. Joseph, we'll have you go first, then Emily, then Jason. So Joseph, if you'd like to kick us off.
How can you make sure the business is viable?
What do you mean? How can I make sure the business is viable? So right now we're based on a freemium model. We are starting off with a 7-day free trial, and a lot of the features we have right now are not really the ones that we're aiming to push with monetization. It would honestly be more so the courses itself and the B2B route. But I mean, that's a great question. I'll never really know for sure if it can work out or succeed until we get to that point.
So give you an ideal situation. If today you close the next round, you have $5 million, you have plenty to use. How can you make sure it's viable, right? So it's back to the question, when you have, at the beginning, you don't have numbers. Later on, you introduce numbers, but none of these numbers are economic numbers. You have to translate into the economic number. I see the problem of this, but how much they're going to pay or how much you can charge. So with this validation, that's number one. Number two is how do Oura Ring and Fitbit see this market, right? So if you don't have the number and try to see how other adjacent market, how they see this problem and try to translate that into the economic way. So like Jason mentioned earlier, if you can show a projection, that means at least you've done some homework to validate how much money you need, how much money you can make, or how many users you can bring on. And eventually, even you're not being profitable, but after 1 or 2 rounds. But for now, if I'm looking at the $3 million round, or even thinking $5 million round, I'm not just thinking of my round. I'm thinking about the 2 rounds down, so I can make sure it's the right time for me to invest. Otherwise, I'm going to tell you it's too early for me. It's not about the valuation or check size. It's because I don't see a viable exit in the business until I can see that, and I'm going to invest.
Great.
Thank you for your feedback.
And then score 1 out of 5, Joseph.
I'll say high 2.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you. Emily, you have the floor.
Sure. So Emporia, I've been in the wellness industry for many years now. I actually taught meditation. I've been trained as a meditation teacher. I know a lot about brainwaves. I know a lot about all these things. The one thing I have to admit is that I work with people who are in tech, know nothing about meditation, bring them into this process, and they learn to meditate, which is amazing. But there's a lot of skepticism still, right? And you're going off of people's skepticism around dreams. Dreams are very, very abstract. So we have to be careful saying that we can use AI technology to interpret these dreams or someone else to interpret these dreams. We have to also be informed about trauma. Sometimes people's dreams can be trauma related. So it goes into a lot of different things we have to look at in terms of meditation and lucid dreaming. While they are in ways very different, we still have to understand the brainwave system. So when our mind is very active, as you know, that's like in our waking state. And then when we get into alpha or theta, that's when we're in this meditative state, which does constitute as lucid dreaming. So in a way, meditation can be a dream state. So my concern is that the problem isn't big enough because it's already being solved through many different meditation apps, and people can maybe, dream and then also bring that in through meditation. Like that's for an example of what I did, but I don't know if AI is necessarily going to lead people down the path, or if it's going to lead people off a path of understanding themselves better. I like the idea of having therapists because, again, that helps with people who are maybe trauma informed, depending on their dreams. But some of the things that I just want to point out in your presentation was there was a lot of kind of proof about what lucid dreaming was, and using different people to say, hey, these are people who prove that lucid dreaming is true. I would like something probably like catchier in the beginning to really bring in a story or bring in like a really big problem that people are having with their dreams and why they need to interpret them more. So if you had something like that in the beginning, rather spending your time trying to prove that lucid dreaming is legitimate, I think that would actually just bring people in, keep them engaged. So, and then going into the difference between, like you said, you're the first, but there's a lot of meditation apps out there. And if we understand the brain and we understand that, meditation and lucid dreaming is very similar, and then going into like how this is different and where there is a need, I think that would really help. So I'm not saying that lucid dreaming in an app like this wouldn't be something that people are interested in. It just might bring in a lot of hobbyists and people who may not be serious enough to invest and really pay for this kind of service. So those are just things that I'm concerned about in terms of moving forward. And yeah, even if you had the investment tomorrow, the question is like, what would you do with that investment to really make sure that you're able to return that investment? No, she went away. Yeah.
We might have lost the connection there for a sec. We'll see if she goes back. But no, thank you for that, Emily. And then this will be recorded. So, hopefully, Jason, you can provide some feedback and she can hop back in if you get service. But Jason, you wanted to share some feedback really quick?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want Emily's rating first?
Oh, yes. Yeah, please, Emily. And it looks like Emporia did just hop back in, so she can hear you now. So, Emily, you want to start with your score?
Sorry, my Wi-Fi cut
Yeah,
off.
so, so I think it was great. They had a lot of statistics there, and I still think it's a good start. I would say it's like a 2.5, so not quite a 3, but I would give it like a 2.5.
Great. Thank you, Emily. All right, Jason.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Emporia, for enlighten me on a new concept. Had not heard of lucid dreaming before, but I would say that I don't feel like there's a big pain point here. So there's something about a vitamin or an aspirin. This sounds like more like a vitamin, where this is a nice to have versus an aspirin where you're really solving a big pain someone has. I wasn't convinced in the beginning that there is a major problem here. You provided some examples, which was great, but quantify this problem, because people aren't properly evaluating or doing something with their dreams. What is it doing for people? Are they missing out on opportunities? I just wasn't clear. Are they having health issues because of this? I wasn't convinced that there's actually a real problem here. And then overall, you had a lot of the things we want to hear in a pitch, but way too much text. You had that opening slide of what is lucid dreaming. I mean, it's okay to explain that, but you don't need to put that on the slides if you're presenting visually like this. If you're sending the deck to someone, maybe, but investors get decks all the time. If you have too much text, we're not going to read it. We get overwhelmed. So keep it very simple. I just think you have too much text everywhere in the slides. Put a logo, add more color, put your logo, put other things on the slide to keep it extra exciting. It wasn't as exciting as it could have been. So think about that. I mean, you're talking about dreams. You can add more color. I mean, unless we all dream in black and white, I don't know, but add some excitement to your slides. You mentioned percents in the markets. Again, we're going to capture percents. Give us the assumptions. And that goes to, I know Joseph talked about the market a little bit. I'm not convinced I understand the market either, because you even said you weren't sure what the market is. That's not going to help your case talking to an investor. That means you got to narrow your focus on. Maybe you start with a health condition. Maybe that's where you start. We're trying to help people with this particular condition. Again, you also had your valuation numbers. I wouldn't put that on the slide because that could cause someone to not want to talk to you later. Last thing I'll say is you did put some metrics. You put your CAC number. How do you know that when you're not selling this yet? Maybe that's the marketing. I mean, you got some users, but you're not generating revenue. Maybe that's the future CAC you intend to have. But to me, it wasn't relevant because you're not even selling this yet. So you've got a lot of good information. It's got to get refined and needs to be a little more convincing. But that's it. So, and I'll give you a 2 for that.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Thank you, Emporia. Thank you, Joseph, Emily, Jason, for the feedback. And James. So we have the last pitch of the event. James, you want to share your screen and kick us off or bring us home? And you're muted right now, by the way. It's just
That would be a problem. Can you see my screen?
all right. Yep, we got you. All right, you good. You got 5 minutes.
Awesome. Hi, I'm James, CEO of Monetta. At Monetta, we help modern dog buyers meet their ideal breed digitally and in person before they buy. The problem we're solving is that today, many people end up with the wrong dog because they stick to familiar breeds, lack opportunities to meet dogs in person pre-purchase, and struggle to grasp future ownership challenges ahead of time. Ethical breeders are also hard to identify, risking the dog's health and temperament. The consequences of picking the wrong dog are right in front of us. 3 million dogs per year are purchased from breeders, and yet 3.1 million are also abandoned at shelters. Of those, 1.4 million come from owners who cited that match quality was the #1 reason for abandonment. Despite this, the ethical buying process hasn't evolved to address match quality up front. It's time-consuming, expensive, and exhausting to search for an ideal breed from an ethical source. The solution modern dog buyers want is a stress-free, certain way to find their ideal dog on their schedule. And that's what Monetta does. You begin with an online assessment backed by real behavioral data. Behind the scenes, our proprietary technology measures and matches based on your lifestyle and environment. It's easy to review at a glance how well you match with your favorite breed and to drill down into the details you care most about. From there, your buyer's journey evolves with you as you learn. Meet Your Match connects you with vetted nearby owners for safe, quality time with your desired breed. This puts you in the driver's seat of certifying how well the breed actually fits you. If your preferences change, you can selectively rematch by controlling for the attributes you've learned aren't for you. Once you've found your match, we connect you with our vetted ethical breeder network to make it a reality. Breeders and buyers benefit when using Monetta. Our pilot buyers certified digitally and in person that their breed was an ideal fit, giving them confidence to move up their purchasing timeline 5.5 months. The breeder also agreed to a 47% price reduction, citing Monetta's process as clear proof the buyer would be an ideal owner. The result was a buyer who saved 42%, a breeder with a surefire quality home placement, and Monetta capturing 10% of the transaction is our platform fee. We have some great ways to grow. We can target admin-led Facebook groups where potential puppy homes are manually being matched today. We can leverage social validation to make it fun and easy to crowdsource match opinions and help friends guide new buyers. And we can make dog shows more accessible using geofencing to connect breeders and buyers and capture those leads for Monetta. Today, our competition is a handful of traditional marketplaces. They make buying quick and emotion-filled, but haven't touched improving match quality for the modern buyer. Our team's unique value prop comes with our collective experience in building from the ground up, yet not being grandfathered into stagnant, old-school dog world etiquette. We're thoughtful, nimble, and driven to change the space for the better. Now, I have one more story. Our first platform adopter decided we were too early and did things the old-fashioned way. They had recently lost their dachshund and were devastated. And they had gotten that dog through the window of a truck in a Hardee's parking lot. So they wanted to do things a bit more ethically this time. So they researched, did an 11-page application, and attended Westminster, America's premier dog show, to meet the breed in person. And what this amounted to is never hearing back on their application, being ghosted by the breeder, and being completely ignored at Westminster. And 6 months later, this person is still looking for a dog. Now, this person is me, and thanks to my dachshund Scout, we've committed to Scout's Honor, which ensures that trust, ethical breeding, and ideal home pairings are the foundation of every dog's first chapter. Thanks for listening. Our 2 asks would be your feedback on our new web experience and spreading the word if you believe in what we're building. Thank you.
All right. Great job. Appreciate it, James. And yeah, from one dog owner to another and others on this call, definitely see the value in there. So thank you, Emily. We'll kind of get rotated here. So Emily, would you like to go first? And I know we've got 5 minutes here. So if anyone does have to hop off right at the end, hopefully we'll still get time to get through everything and go from there. So Emily, you have the floor.
Yeah, James, I just want to say thank you. I actually did adopt a shelter dog a few years ago. And when I was looking for dogs, this was like the biggest thing that I think is so fragmented. There's tons of different websites. There's tons of different ways to try to look for a dog. And I think it is a problem. There are a lot of shelter dogs, but so many do get returned and it doesn't work out. So I think you're on to something for sure. It was a problem that I definitely had. I do like your presentation. I think if any feedback I could give is bringing in a little bit more emotion, because it is about dogs and it is about animals. So I think like bringing in some kind of story that's going to really connect people would be great. I know you're just trying to get all the information. It's very factual, but I think bringing in some emotion would be really helpful. So I'm going to give you a 4.
Great. Thank you, Emily. All right, Joseph?
I'll give a 4. So I think at least for at this stage, it will pass my sniff test, and I will spend more time to do all the digging. So I don't have many questions at this phase. My big question is is this a good deal or not? So it's clear what to do and how it works, and the target is for the breeder. So financially, so I think all my questions could be answered in a due diligence. Not deal breaker at this moment, but the deal could be a deal breaker, because I would like to see how far and how big this market could be. So I probably will do a digging in the due diligence, compare you to what is the dog walker website?
Like WAG or
Rover, yes. So so I'll think about in this ecosystem, like what is comparable and what are the likelihood. So I think all these questions could be answered in the due diligence. But check on the deal term.
Great. Thank you, Joseph. All right, Jason.
Hey, James. Good to see you. All right. Thanks for the presentation. Overall, good job. You hit most of the pieces. I would start with the story earlier, actually. Putting it at the end was a little, to me, didn't make sense. I would start in the beginning. You can add that emotion, because this is a problem you identified personally. So I would add it in the beginning. And we may have talked about this before. There's vernacular in the industry. You used buyer, could it be adopter? You use owner versus pet parent. I mean, people that are really in the industry, they consider themselves pet parents versus owners. Now, maybe the breeders consider them buyers and owners, and maybe that's who you're targeting. But you can capture the emotion of people who are pet parents by using that language. And I think you're at our pet tech discussion for our fund. That was something that came out, right? Is we're pet owners, or pet parents are not pet owners, right? So just thinking about that could cause the emotion. So it's not a transaction. You're changing the lives of the pets and the parents, and so something to think about. I wasn't sure if the problem was clearly articulated. I mean, in terms of a dollar amount, is there some type of dollar amount lost because of this, or maybe lives lost, pet lives? I mean, is there, you had some good numbers for sure, but maybe there was some other extra oomph you could put in there. And then lastly, again, this is a branding thing. The name of your company sounds very transactional. It reminds me of money. I mean, why not call your business Scout or something like that? That's kind of the beginning of your business. Use a name like that. That'll be a little more emotional, but the name to me doesn't fit the business. It sounds like it's a good tech name, but it doesn't fit what you're doing. So that's all I had. I'll give you a 4 though, because I thought you did a good job. It was enough to want to have another conversation.
Great. All right, everyone. So I apologize. I know we had some time set for a Q&A, but I know we're kind of at the full hour. Jason, Emily, Joseph, thank you for your time and your feedback, especially Emporia, James, Carla. Thank you for your pitches. If there's any questions that people had, afterwards, you can obviously reach out to myself, and we're happy to facilitate that to Jason, Emily, Joseph. Same thing, pitches and everything will be recorded. If you want to learn more, definitely don't hesitate. We'll share the contact information out for the companies. And again, thank you all for joining our June event, and hopefully everyone got some good feedback and next steps on how to continue to improve. So thank you again. Enjoy the rest of your Thursdays. Have a great day. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.